what's up? It's Kev with Atmosphere FC, and in today's video, I'll be interviewing my Boston College right-hand man, Sacir's Pachi's Hot, ex-Red Bull player, head coach at FC Motown, and assistant coach at Fordham University. What's good, dog? How you feeling?
Kev, man, it's so good to see you, bro. Talk to you.
As you know, bro, I want to start a platform where I can speak not just soccer, but soccer in America specifically. And I feel for the sake of this podcast and for the growth of this podcast, I had to start close to home, you know, with people that I know, people I feel comfortable talking soccer with, people that I know, you know, are in the same wavelengths when it comes to the game of soccer that I want to elevate the sport here in America. You're someone that, bro, has accomplished it all. You've climbed up every single ladder. You were successful at every single level. You went on to the pros, signed a homegrown contract with your home team, bro. That's GOAT. Like the fact that you did that, man, and on top of that, you still went on to Germany. You also had a good run with the national team. So, yeah, man, I felt like you were someone that I had to tap in with and just bounce ideas.
I'm always down for a good chat.
So for people that don't know, me and Sacir met in 2009 at Boston College. We both went to the same D1 program. We were both center backs at that program. And we were both...
Whoa. Came in as a forward and converted to a center back.
Yeah,
you were a goal scorer, rocket of a shot, and then became a center back.
We was nice back there, bro. Like, the only compliment Ed Kelly gave me in my 4-year career was like, yo, you two guys in the center back could be the best passing center back in the country.
Our athleticism was zero, though. Athleticism, zero.
Bro, slowest center backs in the ACC for sure.
And don't forget to mention we were roommates, too.
Yeah, that was what I was going to get to. We actually were roommates a whole year. You actually left early to sign a homegrown contract with the Red Bulls. But in that year, you know, we had a good year, soccer year. We had a good team, 7-8 freshmen on that team, and 6 of us were starting. Definitely was a interesting process as far as like the whole concept of college soccer. You know, the level was good. Classes were, man, I don't think either of us were equipped to be taking Boston College courses. So we struggled, you know. Your college decision was that you left early, and I don't think me and you have ever talked about it, but I wish we would have talked.
You're right. I don't think we've ever really. The only person I really spoke to about it was Chris Ager. Mm-hmm. But Chris Ager was more mature than us, if you will. Like he was beyond his years, and he was always like very philosophical and very, you know, he analyzed and broke down everything. He's always stood on the fence, you know, seeing both sides. And I like that about him. So he was the only guy that I really spoke about.
I hear it.
And I'll tell you a story after what he said to me one time, which still to this day, you know, I say it, I think about it. It was like such a eureka moment.
Cool, man. Chris Ager, he was our captain our senior year. My senior year, great guy from Norway. That was another thing he had a very unbiased opinion because he came from Europe, you know, very educated, very just captain.
Norway,
he's someone that a professional, you know. So shout out Chris Ager. I hope to get him on the podcast too.
Yeah, that's someone,
yeah, man. He's a dope dude. But what I was about to say is that you made the right decision on leaving college early. You played 2 seasons. All right, I'm out. I got the experience. It's not what I really thought it was going to be. And boom. Can you talk to us about that whole process, the college process, and your decision on, you know, leaving early?
So, Kev, I mean, that's crazy that we never spoke about it, but I never thought I was going to go pro. You know, I never had intentions of going pro. Mm-hmm. I was only recruited by St. John's in Boston College, and that was very late as well. I was never a national team player. I never, you know, I wasn't as highly recruited as you were, you know, in the youth game. I went up to Boston. I had in my head that I was going to finish college, you know, get a degree and just work in the city, you know, in New York City. So it all just hit really fast. I think freshman year, you know, like you said, we had 6-7 guys starting, you know, in the ACC. You know, first game was Maryland. Remember, we had 12. It was almost like 12,000 people. First ACC game was away to Maryland, and we were thrown into the fire. So I thought freshman year, I had a pretty decent year, not good enough where it was like, you know, people's ears were perking and people were, you know, following, you know, like, oh, this kid is really good. He's a freshman, this, that. I think because we had so many freshmen starting, it kind of diluted the fact that, we were freshmen starting in the ACC, you know?
Yeah. You're also center back. So
and a center back as well.
Yeah.
Right. So after that spring of my freshman year, remember, this was like, I got so out of shape, Kev. We were like eating.
You came in the greatest shape freshman year.
No, stop playing.
Bro, no, because think about it. Let me bring you back. Bro, we did the 300s and you smacked everybody. Like I was like,
no,
yo,
I smacked the first one.
That's
I smacked the first one, the 300.
Yeah.
And then what? We get like a minute break, and then you do it again.
Yeah.
And then I guess
you had the best time and the worst time.
Worst time. So that tells you that you're not in shape. So like if your numbers are close, that shows that you have, you know, great recovery, that you're in shape. But if your numbers are staggered and there's a huge difference between them, then that pretty much shows you that you're not in shape. The thing is, though, I didn't have breakfast, and it was hot that day, you know, like, and I was so anxious, and you know, you can imagine these freshmen coming into college, bro. It's like so nerve-wracking for these kids, and like especially for me, my adrenaline was pumping. That first 300, I wanted to kill it, so I killed it on an empty stomach on a hot day in Boston, and then the second one, I just passed out. Right? And the next thing you know, Ed was on top of me. Blowing, trying to wake me up. At Fordham, we give out the beep test, you know, the 2 mile, and then we keep it moving. We don't have enough time with the guys, you know, where it's like you can spend it. With the Red Bulls, I mean, in preseason, our preseason 2 months long, so it's like you gradually, little by little, get fit. And also, one thing I learned was that you don't want to come into the season at your peak. You don't want to be at your peak fitness, because then come, you know, June, July, midway through the season, you're only going to go down. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting, where it was like our trainer was like, our Red Bulls, our physio trainer, he was like, look, little by little, by the first game, you want to be at 70% fitness wise. By mid season, you want to be closer to 90, you know, 95. And then the last stretch of the season is where you want to peak. But with college, it's just so compact and condensed that it's just hard.
We get 3 months to get in shape, to make an impression, and to get classes done, bro. A whole semester.
So then back to the story. I mean, you know, that spring season, we were enjoying life, you know, just being college kids, and I was eating whatever the hell I want. You know how much I love Doritos. I was eating a bag a day. So
bro, me and you had the worst diet.
The worst diet. The worst. Then we finish our freshman year, and I go back to Red Bulls. I was still young enough to play for the U18s. So when I did come back from school, there was some kind of showcase that the U18s were playing in Florida. So the head coach called me, and he was like, "Hey, Sach, I know you're around. Do you want to come with us to Florida for the showcase?" And I was, you know, happy to see my friends again, you know, so I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. I'm not in shape, but I just did a full season in the ACC. So I'm like, listen, even if I'm not in shape, I could still probably do well, you know, just because of the pace of the game in college is so, you know, hectic and crazy. It's so fast that when you go play with the U18s, everything is pretty much slow. So the first game down at this showcase, we played Pumas or some Mexican team in this showcase, and I had balled out, you know, like I just randomly had a really good game. And that was when Thomas Rongen, the U20 national team coach, so he had called Ed to see what my story was. Ed told him, you know, I'm sure some good things, because he called me right after. Thomas Rongen called me right after and said, hey, in 2 weeks' time, we have a camp in San Jose. You know, can you make it? And so I told Thomas Rongen, I was like, look, Tom, I'm so out of shape right now. Like, I'll come, but just understand I'm so out of shape. And our assistant coach for the U20 national team was Tim Mulqueen. He's a Jersey guy. He's the one who's credited for like Tim Howard's career. And, you know, all the elite Jersey goalies came through Tim Mulqueen. So he pushed me on his end. And that camp in San Jose, my touches were, I don't know what it was, Kev, but it was like I wasn't the same player. It was almost like I was possessed. Like I've never played that well in my life. And it was like, it's something I can't even explain because I was pulling off stuff I could never even imagine I'd do, you know? And so after the camp, Thomas Rangan, you know, calls me into the lobby. He goes, Sach, you know, getting in shape is easy. You can get in shape in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month's time. You know, that's the easy part of soccer. He's like, we really like you. You know, the group likes you. They've kind of taken you in. We have the Milk Cup in another 2 weeks. I'm going to send you back from here, from this camp. I'm going to send you back to train with the first team, with Red Bull's first team. They're going to put you on some kind of program to speed you up and get you in shape. And then by the time the Milk Cup comes by, you're ready to play with us. So I was like, wow, holy shit, like fantastic. You know, like this is awesome. This is amazing. And then it gets better. He goes, you know, I really like your style. I really like your game. And, you know, World Cup qualifying is next year. I want everyone to be a professional on this team. Everyone's got to be playing pro. And so I was like, you're telling me that I'm going to play pro? Remember, at this point, I had no intentions of going pro. I didn't think I was like, my academy coaches never pushed me to first team trainings. No one had ever told me, oh, yeah, you know, you're on the verge or you're close, you know, keep grinding. Yeah. You know, my academy coaches, except for one or two, had pretty much wrote me off, you know? So I had no idea. He goes to me, yeah, I'm going to make a phone call into Hans Backe and the Red Bull guys. And, you know, you're going to go train with them and I'm going to push for you to get signed. And so he was sitting next to his stepson. His stepson was Chris Megaludis. He goes, you know, Chris Megaludis here, he's an agent. Chris at the time was working with most of the guys in our group. He was working with Bill Hamid, Andy Nahar.
Ballers.
Yeah, he's like, Chris is going to take care of you. So that night, Kev, I went back to my room and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep, bro. I couldn't sleep. I was like, holy shit. I went from the mods at 2 o'clock in the morning to signing a first team contract in a matter of what, a month maybe, you know? And at all this time I'm out of shape too, which is even crazier, you know? It's like, holy shit, what the hell just hit? So then I go back home, I train with the first team, and again, I play possessed. I don't know what had gotten into me. It was almost like the Space Jam when the aliens get into the players of the bodies, the bodies of the players.
The Monstars.
Yeah, bro, that's how I felt, Kev. I was like, oh my God. And at that point, I knew I was signing, right? This was the summer. I was coming back for sophomore year preseason, but I had picked up an injury at the Milk Cup. Remember? I had a pretty bad groin injury.
I had to play center back because we had no center backs.
Yes, that's when you transitioned to center back. And so, like, I couldn't shake this injury off. I knew going into that season that it was my last season with at Boston College. You know, I knew at the end of the season, regardless of what happens, I was going to be signing pro. Yeah, I mean, my life literally changed within 2 months. And so I went from, you know, not even thinking I was good enough to be a pro to signing with the first team.
A homegrown contract, bro.
Yeah. This is a club that I grew up, born and raised, you know, like from days of Metro Stars. So for me, it was a dream. It was a no-brainer as well.
Crazy, man. I didn't know that story. I didn't know it went down like that. Possessed, bro. It's because you was in Chevy with me, bro, bumping till 2 in the morning. Before we get onto your Red Bulls career and, you know, you're signing a contract and playing with Henri and Rafa Marquez, let's talk a little bit about the college level, about the BC journey, because I believe that soccer in America can work if the college system is reformed and it has a year-round season. So the biggest flaws is that, you know, these programs are trying to get best soccer out of kids in 3 months. And on top of that, give them workloads of school and you're missing half of the class. So it's a big responsibility and a big mountain to climb. But if you put all of that aside, it's a good level.
I think it's malpractice, honestly. You know, 3 months of a whole year. And, you know, at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, man, you know, in Europe, at that age, you're playing professional. You're playing all year round, and those are the most, developmental years of a player's career. So it's like for a kid to only be playing 3 months of a year is really, tragedy. It's a tragedy. And I mean, I remember going to, while I was at Red Bull, we had the Arsenal Cup. It was like Thierry Henry, going back to whatever their stadium is called. But I think Red Bull's Salzburg came, Arsenal was there. It was like a 4-team tournament, and I didn't get called for that trip. And so I was talking to one of my teammates who's Danish. He was playing. He's big time Danish guy at the time. And I was like, "Oh, Brian, I didn't get called. It's probably because I'm young, but it sucks. I want to be on the trip." He's like, "Sach, how old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 19 years old." He goes, "My friend, 19 years old in Europe?" He goes, You're almost not a veteran, but like you're already established at clubs. You're not young at 19 years old in Europe, So imagine that, kids at 18, 19 years old are only playing 3 months. That's, for me, it's crazy.
It doesn't make sense. None of our system makes sense, bro. None of it's connected. None of it.
Kev, you got to think about it money wise. It's like to run a whole season all year long costs colleges a lot. And on top of that, salaries need to be raised. You need to get paid for a whole year.
Okay, look, we look at NCAA March Madness. That shows me that there's a market for amateur sports. So I know we're far behind, but like, bro, if everything was for the players and marketed for talent and the best talent in the country, that gives us a better access and a better pool to select. And believe me, bro, these universities are going to get their money if it's marketed right, because soccer is a marketable sport, up and coming hipster sport. It's a cool sport. So I see how crazy. I don't even care about NCAA basketball, but I be tuned in watching, betting, like, so I can see that.
Yeah.
But there's
the thing is, Kev, look at this. Like we had a lot of, remember our games in Newton, our ACC games, we had like 5,000, sometimes 4,000 people at our games, like that you can generate some kind of revenue there. But like, for example, here at Fordham now, we win the A10 and, we make it to the second round of NCAA. We lose to Marshall, who are eventual champs. But like, we can't even pull in 100 people into our game. So it's like some schools can keep up, right? Some schools can keep up with the money stuff all year round. But then schools like mid-table schools like Ryder, say for example around here, Ryder, FDU, these guys couldn't go a year long.
Yeah, I hear you.
So it's like there's a lot behind it. I think it's close. I think it's getting there to go all year round.
Yeah.
But it's not as easy as you think.
But it's also because the whole system is in shambles. No system is connected. Like there's no crazy part about amateur leagues, bro, is that the USL is older than the MLS, and the USL and the MLS are not connected. And the USL and the USL2 are not connected.
That's how it is. Well, USL2 and USL's umbrella, Kev, it starts at the USL Championship, right? That's the league, that we all know. Then underneath that, they have a USL 1. They have a 1. That's USL1, there goes USL2, and that's like PDL. That's the college.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then, USL kind of hitched their wagon on MLS. In the current times, I think they might be moving away from each other. I think. But for the past 5 years, I was like, oh, wow, USL is smart, because instead of fighting MLS, they hitched their wagon on MLS, and they took in the LA Galaxy 2. They took in Red Bull 2. Like they take in all these MLS 2 teams. What's happening, what I hear through the grapevines now, is that the MLS second teams, they're going to kind of branch away from the USL Championship and start their own.
That's good, bro.
Yeah, and that's another thing I'll talk about as well.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
because I feel like a lot of our players from our generation that got drafted, our years, bro, they got put onto the 2s, and then their careers, they're just dissolved.
Well, the thing is, they're lucky, because when I was with Red Bulls, they didn't even have a 2s. So I went again as a 19-year-old, not playing one game all year, just training all year, you know? So it was like, bro, that's bad. You know, you need to play games. I always tell all these players that I talk to, it don't matter where you go, as long as you're playing games consistently.
I hear you.
Like sometimes it's good to just take a step down and play 90 minutes instead of going to, you know, a big club and sitting on the bench. It's actually counterproductive.
I hear you. How would you compare the college level from our time, 2009 to 2013, to the level that is now? Is it better? Is it good? I mean, one takeaway, because I'm still relatively new, you know, I'm only 3 years into the college game. Yeah. But one takeaway was that back when we were playing, there were difference makers, right? Like every team pretty much had a difference maker and players that can unlock teams. Nowadays in college, it's except for maybe the top 5 schools, right? Your Clemson's, your UVA's, whoever's, you know, your top 5 in the current year. Except for them 5, everyone else underneath can beat each other because there's not many difference makers anymore. And so any team can just pull up on that day, you know, be organized, sit in, make it compact, make it hard, make it difficult. And, you know, you can sneak out with a 1-0 win, you know. So I think the level of playing field is a lot even now, just because your special players aren't going to college, but your special players are at USL teams on MLS contracts, you know, or on, you know, on deals. I've never seen it that way, but that makes a lot of sense, bro.
Yeah. So it's like,
but let me say, so even level across the country here in the US. So think about it marketing wise. Anybody could beat anybody, upset city. You can market all that, bring all that revenue that we love about March Madness basketball. And I did not know that's
how it is, Kev. That's my takeaway. As far as the play style of play and the level of play, I mean, it's hard because I'd be biased, right? I think I see the game a lot more different now that I'm older and I'm a coach. Yeah. And so I think the way I played at Boston College, if I was coaching myself, I'd smack me silly. Like, you know, remember, I always wanted to play out of everything. I always wanted to pass. I always wanted to thread the needle. So it was like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you a truthful and meaningful difference between how the game was back in the day when we were playing and how it is now.
I hear you.
The thing is, Kev, I can tell you one thing, though. I don't remember it being this fast of a pace. I think, wow, like you hardly have time to breathe in these games, you know? And I don't know if it's because it's the Fordham style of play and, you know, just the way we play and our opponents and, you know, whatnot. But my experience at Fordham is every game that we've played has been at 1,000 miles an hour, which is, you can take some good things out of it, you know, like you can take some good things and bad things out of it.
That's what I was going to say, bro.
When you do play, like we played Clemson last year. And at the time, I think there were 2 in the nation or something like that. But we played them. The game was almost like in slow motion, you know, because they would pass, they'd go east to west, they'd connect, it'd be calculated. So for us, it was like, all right, you can make that pass to the right back and we'll cover it, you know, we'll make it to the right back. Yeah. And it was like almost easy, you know, so like, holy shit, you know, like they're not jamming it down our throat, you know, where it's just, you're losing your head. Yeah. So it was easier to play the Clemsons and the possession-based teams.
Okay.
There's a UMass, you know, who's direct and, you know, who tries to score from anywhere on the field. You know, they could be on their goal line and you're still worried that in 2 passes they can be at your goal, you know? So
exactly.
So that's why teams like Marshall, like that we played in the second round of NCAA, we only lost to them with 5 minutes left or something like that in overtime. You know, because they were calculated, they went side to side. And by the way, Kev, that's one of the best college teams I've seen, even in our time. That Marshall team, was so good, man.
I saw their run, bro. They had a Cinderella run this year, so congrats to them. I actually reached out to a few players to hopefully get them on the podcast and you know.
Yeah, I can put you on with some of the guys. It was a
less.
funny story, real quick. Their right back actually came from the German club I was at.
Really?
So at Hessen Kassel, I was with the first team. I guess at the time he was with the U17s or, you know, one of the youth teams. And I had saw him I was doing my homework, right? I was recruiting, scouting, you know, looking up their players. And I see this one kid from Hessen Kassel. I'm like, oh, snap, you know, like he must know who I am, you know, because I never really trained with the 17s. I never trained with the young guys. Mm-hmm. But back in Germany, it's amazing because, you know, these kids look up to the first team players. And at the time we had a really good run. So I was like, oh, maybe he knows me. And I run into him in the hotel, in the elevator, just him and I. Wow. And we chopped it up. And yeah, man, he was their captain, starting right back from Marshall. Great player. I can reach out to him if you want him.
Man, that would be dope because their story has to be told. Not the run has to be told. The Cinderella run that has to, you know, they just did has to be documented. Yep. But the college experience also hope to cover, and that's one of the main focuses of this platform. I want to get the perspective because I really think that the college level could work, bro. Like you just said, it's a level playing field. If you're organized, anybody could be anybody. There's big athletic, always gonna be athletic because America always has the best athletes, bro. So I really think that if it's done right, it could be our main source of recruitment across the country. So absolutely. It's man, I'm glad you're at Fordham. I'm glad, you know, to get your insight. And so you're an assistant at Fordham in New York, D1 program, but you're also the head coach of an NPSL team. And you just joined the USL too. So you're balancing 2 leagues with FC Motown as a head coach. Tell us about that experience because you guys have phenomenal talent, bro. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Kev. I can't coach a USL 2 because there's some Fordham guys on that team. So it'd be illegal. Interest. But the thing is, it's funny that you asked that because I'm trying to transition out of coaching Motown and trying to. So our product on the field doesn't match our product off the field, Kev. Like, you know, we have great players. We have, you know, we're a good team. You know, we have guys that have played in MLS, played at the highest level. The thing is, there's only 4 of us. There's myself, 2 owners, Scott and Dan. And then he was my assistant, Alan McClintock, who's assistant coach at Drew University. So it's only 4 of us really running the club. So I said to Alan, look, you take the USL 2 guys. I'll take the NPSL for this season. And then I'll slowly transition out to like a sporting director role, you know, and I'll try to build this club out with an academy, you know, get fans in the stands, you know, just like try to build something legit off the field. And I found passion in that, you know, it's like, I was kind of getting stale. I've been doing it for 7 or 8 years now, you know, coaching Motown. So sometimes it's nice to get some new blood injected, you know. So would be my last year probably coaching with the NPSL. And then next year, you know, I'll try to build this club out off the field, you know, and challenge myself in a different way, you know. Bro, that's big moves. That I respect that. I love to hear that, bro. I love that you're behind all that because bro, you've been with this club for 7 years. And I believe that the USL and all these leagues, these blue collar leagues with these type of players are the leagues that are going to elevate the sport of soccer here in America if somehow we can make it work. Right, because like you said, there's phenomenal talent. Dilly Duca was playing with you, right? If there's someone I need you to put a word in with, it's Dilly Duca, bro. Yo, I'm doing a podcast right now, bro. I took a little commercial break. I should be done by 10. What's up, bro? I like this shit. Yeah, it's my roommate from college. Yo, word up. Thank you, bro. And if, you know, we hear that we have no identity in the U.S. We hear that we got no culture in the U.S., but no one really tells us what culture is. How you build culture, right? So for you to be trying to build, getting people in the stands, grow this club that has exceptional talent, respect, bro. That's how you build culture. That's how you give a community something to play for. You know, everything that feeds into this club is going to be better for the players, better for us to select that talent. So respect, bro. I'm glad you're doing that. Thank you, bro. All right. Yeah. So yeah, man, let's transition now into your pro career. You sign a homegrown contract with the Red Bull, who is your hometown club. I'm sure that was an amazing feeling. I was so happy to see. I was happy that you were leaving out of Boston College to sign pro, bro. Like I was like, man, hell yeah, I'm glad my dog's doing it. Yeah, talk to us about that experience.
Do I? Oh man, I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet, but
Yeah,
because I can go on for days about this, and it took me a while kind of to get over it. It took years to kind of put it to bed, but I think that was it premature? I think sure, but looking back, it's always easy to play Monday morning quarterback, right? Like it's always easy to look back and say, you should have done this, should have done that, should have done this. So at the time, Red Bulls we had Timo Tanio, who had played for Tottenham, beat Chelsea, I think, in the FA Cup. This guy was huge. We had Frank Ross, German national team goalie. We had Rafa Marquez, I don't even need to tell you him, legend. We had Thierry Henry. We had a team full of superstars. It was equivalent to like a Man City, right? Mm-hmm. So as a young player, right, like think about it in England, where do you think you have a better chance of breaking through, at Man City or at, Sheffield United? Sheffield
United all day.
Obviously. So like at the time, Red Bulls kind of threw a lot of money into players and, winning a championship. So for a young player, it was the worst place to be. Even at the same thing with LA Galaxy at the time. Those were the two teams, who had the biggest budgets and had, the biggest stars. David Beckham, Robbie Keane. These were huge clubs, that depended on winning a championship. So for a coach, especially a European coach, who was Hans Backe, our coach for Red Bulls, he was the assistant coach at Man City for Sven-Goran Eriksson. He was the assistant coach at Mexico national team with Sven. Like, this is a big time coach as well. So he's not taking a chance on a 19-year-old American kid when he can just go out and buy a William Conde, a guy that's, super experienced and played at a high level. So for me, it wasn't a good place to be at as a young player.
Yeah, touch on that because you said, bro, no coach, no team, no league here in America is going to take a chance on a 19-year-old when they can go buy a superstar that's ending their career in Europe, right? So I love the league, bro. I love the MLS. I'm a diehard.
Me too.
Right? So let me ask you this. Let me bring up this point real quick. I really think that's what's hurting our league. Paying these big money to the DP. I think the DP, as far as like David Beckham was breakthrough and David Beckham cool, but I really think that's what's ruining our league because it's taken away from young talent. How are you supposed to compete? How is a 19-year-old American kid like you supposed to compete with Rafa Marquez to play center back?
Yeah, so it's a tough one, Kev, because we're just so young in our league that you need to bring in players like that, and you need to. Okay. So, like, think about it. The EPL, if you know the EPL in the 1990s, or let's make it even safe, like the 1980s wasn't a good league, bro. Like that was never a good league. My dad used to tell me like the Italian league was good, the Spanish league was good, but EPL wasn't good because it was all homegrown, right? It was all English players. It was the Roy Keanes. It was Alan Shearers. So it was the 90s is when you saw that transition when they started bringing in, outside talent. And then it became what it is, right? It became the best league in the world. But that's only because they started bringing in outside talent, so.
Because I think they changed the rules too of the league or some stuff. And then the
exactly.
Champions League
back
came
in the
along
day, you
too.
can only have, I think it was like 3 foreign players or something like that. So in order for the EPL to grow into what it was or is, they needed to go outside and bring those superstars, bring those. And so now you have to find the right balance of bringing in the superstars and bringing attention to the league, but also at the same time developing your own players.
Very good point. Very good point, bro.
So it's like it's tough. It's tough because I know I used to think that way as well, but then I was like, listen, you got it. You got it. Balotelli. Balotelli. That's a terrible example.
Legend.
But I know. But like these big European superstars, they're not coming, in 96, 97, 98 or early 2000s. Mm-hmm. The only reason they were coming was because like guys like Yuri Jerkov, and these big time guys, they come to LA and they come to New York just to live there. They're
George
not really
Best,
coming to play.
Pele.
Yeah, so it's like, but now you're starting to see, young players that, Giovinco leaving Juventus at a young age.
What a baller, bro. So great point, because that's what I was going to bring up next.
It's a fine balance. It's a fine balance that we need to strike.
Facts. You see Atlanta United doing it well. They bring Joseph Martinez. They're very to the Almiron. He went on to play. So they're doing it right. They're spending the money on young South American talent, which that's what you want to bring, bro. Someone that's still hungry.
But they also got that touch of American in them. They got the Americans playing too, the young players. So that's ideal, right? That's ideal.
Yeah. That's what would be ideal for our league, to have a balance of young, promising
players,
foreign talent.
Like, look at the Mexican league, Kev. I mean, they got Gignac from France coming in. They got all these big superstars from South America, this, that, these are big time players. But at the same time, don't they have some rule where it's like young players must play like 30% of the games, like if they're signed to a first team contract, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you need a balance of both. It's just striking the right balance.
Yeah. And it's also, you have to think about how much bigger this market is. So it makes sense to bring the David Beckham and try to sell the seats. I understand that. But obviously, as a fan, as someone that's grown with the league, I want to cheer for people like you who've signed homegrown contracts. I wanted to see Charlie Rugg play for the LA Galaxy, but they brought in Edson Buttle and let my man go. You know what? That guy had everything to fit in LA. So
Charlie went to another, like me, he fell victim to another team where it was like,
facts.
He had Edson Buttle, he had Robbie Keane, he had like superstars in front of him. So it was like, how is a college kid going to break through? He's got Bruce Arena as his coach. This is not some, rookie coach. This is, one of the most well-respected guys in the US that's got to win a championship, in a tough market.
Facts. So, that's the hard truth. And it makes a lot of sense. And it's very clear how you put it, bro, because people need to know that's why things, so this is what this platform is about, is that we wonder why we're good and we need answers and no one's doing it. So I want to search for answers like this. And it makes a lot of sense. It educates me to share, because I love this league. But like I said, I really think that the best athletes here are here. And this could be a super league in not 100 years, bro, in like 20 years. So our kids could maybe play in there.
Kev, there's no other league in the world that has progressed as much as we have. Like, people can shit on MLS all day, all you want. But at the end of the day, no other league, the EPL, all these other leagues have been around for 200 years, more, 150. Bro, we've been around for
25. It's our 25th year this year.
25th year, bro. We went from 0 to 100 in 25 years.
I hear you. So that's a very great point, bro. So definitely, that's why I'm telling you, MLS needs their respect, bro. That's why I'm a diehard Galaxy fan, and that's why, bro, I really think that honestly that the MLS was the main reason why I wanted to start this podcast. I didn't think I was going to dive into youth development and the system development. I just wanted to talk MLS because that's what I like. I go with the league, but that's a very good point that you said. There's no other league that's grown as much of us in history of soccer. So we definitely, people have to recognize that. People have got to recognize that this is a league full of talent. This is a promising league. And once we get the market, once we get all the system, it's over, bro. So that's why I believe that we have to stick together.
Yeah, it's never going to be an easy ride. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be,
but it can be done. And I feel like a lot of people don't think that it can be done.
A lot of people. If I was an investor, I would have thrown all my eggs into the MLS a long time ago.
Say that again, please.
Easily, I would have thrown all my money. I put the house on MLS even back in 2000. I just think that at the end of the day, American business owners are probably the sharpest, in the world. And there's a reason why, America is so successful. It's because it's ran by capitalist guys like this who, at the end of the day win, bro. We win at the end of the day.
I hear you. And that's why
it's like MLS is going to win at the end of the day. It might be, 20 years from now. It could be 5 years from now. But at some point, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when MLS wins.
That's music to my ears. That's music to America, bro. Well said, my
Absolutely.
brother. Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about the league. Who are the teams that you follow? Obviously, you're a Jersey guy. Obviously, you play for Red Bull. So,
yeah, there's so I love the West Coast teams. Kev, the West Coast teams are there. It's like it's almost comparable to the NBA. It's like
yeah,
the West Coast teams, bro. Those games are so fun to watch. I mean, I stay up, late. My dad comes home around 10:30, 11, and we'll watch Portland Timbers. We'll watch,
the
Seattle
Sounders.
Sounders. We'll watch, really, really enjoyable. So I love watching the West Coast games. And then my best friend is Mehdi. He's the assistant coach at NYCFC. So I follow them, and I'll follow obviously Red Bulls too, But other than that, like I won't tune in to Revolution game or Inter Miami, Nashville, those markets. I don't really have time to watch.
I hear you.
But like all the primetime games, especially the later ones, I'll watch all of those.
Yeah, man, they're fun to watch. Portland, the Sounders have a good following. LAFC has a good following. LA Galaxy. I think the Sounders are gonna take it this year. They're stacked, bro. Freddie Montero just got back. Roy Diaz is there. What's to do with the man bun? Nasty, bro.
They're good, man. They're a fun team to watch.
Exactly, bro. So it's good to hear that you're tuned in and you love watching this league because, bro, I know that I'm not alone. I know that because I watch every game, bro. Like I follow the MLS more than I do the EPL. Like I'm not gonna lie.
Me too, bro. Me too, bro.
Let me ask you one last question about Red Bull and your experience there, bro. You played with Thierry Henry and Rafa Marquez. Those are our generation goats, bro. Mexican goat, French goat. So I wanna hear some stories.
I'll keep the ones off the record for when we grab a beer, you and I. But I mean, look, Rafa Marquez, this is a guy, that was just so elegant. I compare him to, the Roger Federer of soccer. He was just so elegant, man. It was just so fun to watch him because he just made it look so effortless, Yeah. But at the same time, you almost expect guys that make it that nonchalant and that effortless to be soft, But at the same time, this is a guy that got stuck in. Like,
bro,
he wasn't afraid to roll up his sleeves and put in the dirty work. But man, when he was on the ball, his range of passing was just a beauty to watch. I mean, it was beauty. And then Thierry, I don't think Thierry was as special as Rafa was because listen, athletic players age differently, right? Like they don't age like your finesse guys. The finesse always stays there, regardless of how old you get. The finesse is always going to stay. But
bro, class is permanent.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, Thierry his career was reliant on his speed, his athleticism, his agility, and his goal scoring abilities. So when he was at Red Bull, all of that kind of died out. His athleticism, his speed. Listen, finishing wise, unbelievable.
Yeah.
But how we got captivated by his runs, bro. He would pick up the ball at midfield. I remember on Arsenal at Highbury, he'd pick up the ball at midfield. In 3 steps, he's in the box. He's just gliding past players. So those mesmerizing times I didn't see with Thierry. And he didn't really train too hard as well, too. He was older. His body was kind of breaking down. So he just made sure he was ready for the game on the weekend,
I hear you.
So during training, I went up against him every single day. Like every day I was, going up against him. He was on the first team. I was on the bottom half of the roster. So when we did 11v11, he'd be posted up against me. So and our lockers were right next to each other. And, we had we had some good fights and some good, laughs. And I have so many good stories with him. But that guy, his aura, man, Kev, when he's in a room and he says something, you listen, like you want to listen just because of how confident he is. And, when he walks into the room, he's in there. Like Tony Parker he used to bring celebrities all the time, to training and to, they'd come to the facility. Tony Parker would be sleeping on the couch. Like we'd come back from training and he'd be sleeping. And this is when he was dating Eva Longoria. So he was kind of, the Spurs were nasty at the time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know he was there. You wouldn't even know he was there. He's just a quiet guy. But regardless, what sport you play in, if Thierry Henry walked into your room, you knew he was special,
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool about him. And then Rafa was just a silent assassin. He was just a smooth criminal, bro.
That's awesome, bro. I'm glad you got to experience that, because those it's good to see Thierry Henry transition to the coaching world, because I feel like he has so much influence, and he's gonna elevate the game of soccer, bro. The corruption, the racism, he's gonna stand for it. So
yeah, but he hasn't really done that well, Kev. I mean, his track record is not the best. I think for certain guys like him, it's tough to transition into being a coach, because you're so opinionated and you're such an alpha male.
Okay.
That, look, at the end of the day, Zidane, and you look at the best coaches, Kev, if you name them all right now, none of them were superstars other than Zidane.
There are more.
None of them were superstars. Klopp was played in the second division in Germany. Mourinho hardly even played. What's his name? The one that was at Tottenham that just left. Pochettino was good. He played out of PSG. He played at a high level, but he's also, you can see the difference between him. Thierry, right? These are soft-spoken guys.
Yeah,
where it's like they can walk into the room and be confident in themselves, but also give the players, look, these are superstars. These are guys making $15 million a year. You can't just walk into a locker room and be like, hey, do this, do that, do that. Sooner or later, a player, it don't matter who, anyone on PSG or anyone on, these big clubs, they'll just be like, fuck off, bro. I don't care that you've played 15 years ago, that you're a superstar. I make $15 million a year. I have an entourage of 20 behind me that are in my ears. So Mehdi actually, the NYCFC coaching staff, I guess, and Unai Emery did a Zoom call, and they were picking his brain. And so they asked him, they were like, what was it like coaching at PSG? He goes, it was the hardest point of my career. He goes, it was the hardest challenge I've ever had in my life, because think about it. You have 20 players that can easily start on most Champions League teams that are making a lot of money at one of the best clubs, right? In one of the best metropolitan cities in the world, with entourages of 10 or more people, right? So it's like, I would tell Julian Draxler, whatever his name is, that German kid, he's not starting. He's not playing this weekend. So instead of him putting his head down and, trying to work for a spot or understanding why he's not starting this weekend, this kid goes home and he's got his mother, his brother, his cousins, he's got his friends, he's got this. They're all in his ear chirping like, Unai Emery's an idiot. Like, you should be starting. I can't believe it. Like, how are you not starting? Like, that's such bullshit. So it's like everyone's trying to derail coach if you're not happy. So it was, imagine that, like that's not easy to manage. So guys like Thierry Henry, who are very opinionated and go and tell Julian Draxler, yo, you're not starting this weekend. You're not good enough. Or something like that. You lose a whole locker room. They can flip on you so fast. Once you lose the locker room, and it can happen just like this, you're toast no matter who you are. So that's why I don't know. Bro. Maybe Thierry's a little bit, I don't know if he's really cut out for the coach and stuff. I mean, did you see that one clip when he was coaching at Montreal?
He's on the sideline?
On the side. Did you hear some of the things he was saying?
Yeah. As a player, you don't want to hear that.
He was ripping his play. So now imagine him telling, did you see what he did at Monaco, Kev?
No.
Right. So they went through like a bad spell. Bro, he sent everyone, like the first team guys, he sent them home, and it was like a league game. He was like, our first team guys aren't playing well enough. They're not fighting for the badge. They're not fighting for the club. He brought up a bunch of U19 players or whatever, the U23s. Oh, toast after he did that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's different. It's different when you start coaching, you know. So
Man,
carry on. Let's see how he does. But
man,
I
that's
think
a
it's
lot.
hard for guys like that to transition.
Bro, that's a lot of knowledge, bro. Mind blown, man, about the coaching stuff, because I aspire to be a D1 coach and maybe go in the pros, maybe USL, in my next 4 or 5 years. So a lot of information you just gave out.
Absolutely.
Let's transition to talk a little bit of U.S. soccer. You were, part of the national team, Thomas Rongen, legend. So where do obviously we didn't qualify for the last World Cup. We haven't qualified to the last 2 Olympics. So U.S. soccer is at a hard place. Where do you think U.S. soccer is going to be in 2-3 years realistically?
So I think a lot of people, Twitter and social media nowadays helped and destroyed in so many ways. So I think there's a huge overreaction in the Olympic, not qualifying for the Olympics, this past Olympics, because you never really get judged off, your
no one takes their best players to the Olympics.
It's like, okay, just because you have a good U23 team doesn't mean your first team's nasty. Okay, it can foreshadow, a potential trend upwards, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really say anything concrete. Like all the African teams, remember, like Nigeria and all these teams, they always used to win the U17 World Cup. They used to win the 20, like, the Olympics. And, so, but what they do with the first team, like they're not super powerhouses. I think that our country's tough, Kev. We have such a big melting pot, so many different philosophies, so many different ideas, so many different how do I say this? Like, for example, Germany, right? It's easy to get everyone in Germany on the same page because everyone kind of, especially the Germans, they have some kind of foundation, right? They have a national identity. Like when you think of Germans, there's one thing that automatically pops up. There's one thing, they're very they're workhorses, right? They're like machines, they're robots, and like Spain, right? You think of a Spanish player, technical, good on the ball, that's all they train. You think of English guys, crossing balls, hitting diagonals, like, so everyone's kind of got their foundation in philosophy, whereas America, bro, is just so big. It's such a big country with so many different identities. So it's like, how do you get everyone on the same page? You can't. It's just too hard. It's too hard. So it's like we have an identity crisis. We do have an identity crisis. We're hoping to change it. I mean, but I know U.S. soccer as, the Bob Bradley, the Bruce Arenas. Our foundation and our non-negotiable is that we'll rise to the occasion no matter what. Like we'll fight. We're never afraid to take on any challenge, right? Like it don't matter who US is playing on the day, like we're gonna compete in battle. It's never gonna be an easy win. Like look at all the World Cups that we played in 2006, 2010. Like we played Italy, we played Belgium, we played Germany, England. Like we've played huge nations, soccer nations. Not one time did we get ran off the field, because we always compete. And I think that's our foundation, is that our locker room is always blue collared and always ready to roll up the sleeves and start fighting. We're transitioning a little bit away from that, where it's like now we're getting a little bit more of the talent, the finesse guys, but you can't, bro. Remember Jade Demerit, the center back? Yeah. This is a guy with hardly any skill, but
he was a modern day Alexi Lalas.
Exactly. So it's like we're losing a little bit of that and we're gaining a lot more talent. So I think the way we're going right now is perfect. I don't care what people say. People can talk smack all day. Oh, we didn't qualify for this, we didn't qualify for that. Bro, our youth is, bro, one's playing at Barcelona, one's just won a Champions League. When we were playing, who was playing in Champions League? You couldn't even name me a player that was in Champions League, Now we have 10, 15 players in Champions League, playing Champions League. So that's huge, man. That shows a lot of progression. People can hate and talk, and that's why Twitter and all these social media platforms, are kind of negative, because it turns a little brush fire into a house fire, like it just kind of piles on dirt. It's like, there's so much animosity and anger after every little setback.
Yeah.
But if you look at the bigger picture, though, we're flying, man. We're flying. And I'm telling you, in 20 years or 10 years, bro, we're going to be a powerhouse, easily.
A lot of great points you made, bro. I love your stance on American soccer. I love that you believe, and I believe it too. Absolutely. I believe we have everything we need to be dominant powerhouse in the game of soccer. We're going to close it out, but I'm going to be in New York next month, bro. So I'm hoping to do a part 2 to this interview in person, because there's so much we could have dove in deeper, but we covered enough in this one that I feel like we have to give people enough time to digest this before going to a next one.
Days, Kevin. Days. I mean, you remember those nights we stayed up all night just talking.
Yeah.
I remember I told you UVA was going to be national champions in preseason. Remember,
you called it.
I called it.
Bro, they were nasty,
all day and night talking, bro. We can talk all day. So yeah, man, when you get into New York, hit me up and we'll meet up and catch up and continue.
Facts, bro. Thanks for your time, bro. Like I said, a lot of good knowledge. You made a lot of good points. All the experience that you shared, very knowledgeable. So